Hi, this is Stephanie Gilbert. I want to talk to you a little bit about your paper coming up, your term paper for Psychology 150. It is coming up soon, so I really would recommend you get started on it, at least figuring out a topic and doing some research to begin with. So let me tell you a little bit about the paper. It is going to be 5 to 7 pages, double-spaced, your typical term paper, but let me give you a little bit more detail. Now, you can have a great paper. It has to be psychology based. And the neat part about that is it's a huge range of topics that you can cover, anything you've done in this class or any other topics that you maybe have covered in a different psychology class. But that is very broad, and so we have to make sure that you make sure it's psychology based. And let me give you an example. We had a student a few semesters ago who was in the criminal justice department. So he said, I want to do a paper on the death penalty. What a great paper, a great topic to choose. Now, here's what we had to make sure about that paper, is that we took the psychological stance on the death penalty. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean for the inmate who was on death row? What does it mean to the family of the inmate if their loved one is now going to be on death row? We have to look at the psychological aspects. Can you point out some of the laws? Absolutely. Can you point out how the laws have changed? Absolutely. But this is not the basis of your paper. The basis of your paper has to be the psychological research done behind a topic. Okay? Now, when I say research, here's another really important part of this paper. Research means that you have gone to a source and found previous research that is on this topic. And so while I would love to hear your personal opinions or personal stories mixed within this paper, it can be used maybe in the first paragraph or the last paragraph. That part can be in first person to get the reader's interest. The rest of the paper has to be in third person. This has to be on previously done research. Okay? Now, the other thing that I want to make sure is when you pick those, when you do that research, is that you go ahead and cite your sources, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Now, the sources that you're going to pick, let's make sure that you use reliable sources, and this is not surprising to any of you because we've been doing this with your written responses. Reliable sources do not include Wikipedia.com or Ask.com. These are great sources to go get ideas from and to get interest in. I know they have pictures on them, and you kind of say, that's kind of interesting. That's super, but that's not the primary area of your focus for your research. Kind of rule of thumb is to use your .gov, .edu for your research, not your .coms. The other thing is once you figure out a topic, then you're going to have to narrow it down. To narrow it down, there's a great video on your Moodle site that I highly recommend. It was made specifically for the Psych 150 class by one of the folks over in the library, and you've seen email coming from him, Grant. Either you can watch that video, help yourself narrow it down. You can also go to the library or to the Academic Resource Center, and they will also help you narrow it down. Let me give you an example when I say narrow it down. Suppose you pick ADHD, a very interesting topic and a topic that a lot of us are touched by. What am I going to do with that? That's a huge, huge, huge topic to do. It's too much for 5 to 7 pages. So how am I going to narrow it down? Well, I think I'll focus on adolescence. Still very large topic, very broad. You're going to need to narrow it down even more. So maybe I might look at ADHD across cultures. How does one culture, the Asian culture perhaps, deal with ADHD different than we do? We've talked about individualism and collectivism. Does that make a difference in how we treat somebody who might act differently than somebody else? So really look at the cultural aspects if you want to narrow something down more. How is it different from one population to the next? How is your topic different with different people of different ages? Any of these things can help narrow down your topic. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to recommend is that you email me that topic before you start your research. I highly recommend it. I have read a lot of papers, and I have seen a lot of people do too broad, too specific. If you send me your research paper topic, I don't want your whole paper yet, but your whole topic in an email, I will take a look at it and say, yeah, that's a good idea, or you might want to narrow it down, or it's too narrow for that matter. The other thing I highly recommend is that you go ahead and use an outline before you write your paper. I will tell you, I have read so many papers that the flow of it is so mixed up, I can't figure out where you're going with it. You start with an idea, you pick up another idea over here, you pick up another idea over here, and if I can't find it, If I can't follow it, you'll see in your rubric for this class that if the flow is not even, you're going to get docked points. It's a silly reason to get docked points. All it takes is write an outline, follow the outline. The other thing I recommend with that is that you read it out loud before you submit it to me. A novel concept, it's so easy. Either read it loud to yourself or ideally, read it out loud to somebody else. Because they're going to tell you, I'm totally confused. And they're, glassed face, I can't see, I don't understand what you're talking about. That's a sign to you that the flow might not be even, or that you might stumble over too many grammatical errors. Why not address this before you submit it to me to get points off? You guys are all very capable of this. I've seen some great written responses with beautiful flow to them, so just make sure that you read it out loud before you submit it. Also, when I talk about the 5 to 7 pages, please understand I do not need a title page. I do not need an abstract. Those are optional. If you put them in, love it, great, but I'm not going to grade according to it. You do need to use APA style, which means that you need to cite your sources and you have a final page on your paper. That can be your 7th page, but I don't want it to be your 5th page, if that makes sense. That's not really included in your 5 to 7 pages, but your final page of your sites that you use, your resources listed, and different people call it different things, but I need that final page in there. Now, I've mentioned the APA style. This is of critical importance. You must cite all of your sources. There's a lot of different resources that we've given to you to help you understand APA. Many of you have been using already in your written responses. There's a great resource. This is one of my class, thanks guys, for this semester talking about, which is Purdue L, and now it is now on your Moodle site that will tell you all about APA style. And there's also some other sources listed on your Moodle site. Included in that is I should see Insight citations. What is that? That is a citation that you actually, if you use the work of somebody and you want it's in your actual text, then you're going to cite them in your source. And for example, if it's a book, you use the author's last name in parentheses, and then comma, and then the date of the book. So get familiar with Insight citations. If all of this is foreign to you and you've never heard of APA, and this is all very confusing, you must go to the Academic Support Center or to the library, probably in this case Academic Support Center, and learn more about that. At first, do your research online, because we've given you the resources. This can make or break this paper, guys. You've got to learn APA style. So please make sure that you're using that across the board. Also make sure that this paper that you're submitting to me is unique to this class. When I talked about, using a topic from criminal justice, love it. Go ahead and use one that's important to you, but it has to be a paper that you've written for this class, not for another psychology class and not for another class that you've taken in college or in high school for that matter. Okay. The other thing is when you're picking topics, I did want to touch on this, I forgot earlier, please, I really don't want to read another paper about bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. I can't tell you how many I've read. I know enough about it, thank you. I know it touches some of you, and it's a very hot topic for some of you. But you know what I want to see, guys? I don't even want to see as much about the disorders. I would love you to find something in the topics that we've covered here and really apply it to daily life. How does Maslow's hierarchy play out in the workplace? Do some research on that. Find out how the need for affiliation affects the people in puberty. How do the topics that you've read actually affect people in the workplace or in school or in college? This is much more important to me and much more interesting to me, to be completely honest with you, than just picking some disorder. Find something that's of interest to you. If you guys like to work out, how does working out and exercise help reduce stress? There's a super topic. Okay. The other thing I do want to point out is that we will be using Turnitin.com. You will submit your paper first before you submit it to me. You'll put it in there first. You will have a chance to see what percentage of your paper is plagiarized. Do not like plagiarism. Many of you know that. I've kind of gotten on some of you about it already. If it's more than 25% plagiarized, it will not be accepted, straight up. So you better figure out a way to make it your own words and make it your own concepts. Part of that is I do not like you guys taking entire paragraphs out of something and quoting it, even if you use the correct quotation style. I want your words. Quotations to me don't show me that you understand the concept. The only time you're going to use it is if you use an actual terminology from somebody or a very specific process from somebody. If it's really specific to that person, fine, you can use their work. But in general, there's no reason to use a specific quoted source out of a research paper. Okay, and the other thing is just to stress again, what I need you guys to do is please email me your topic before you get started. I can tell you this is going to help you. It's going to reduce a lot of the headaches or stress that you have going down the line because you might pick a topic that quite honestly may not work as well as you wanted to. I love reading these. I am so excited for you guys to turn these in. Your forum posts that you've been using this semester have been out of this world, so I have no doubt that we're going to see some great research topics here, and I look forward to it. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, hit the topics, hit the research, and please use your academic support center. Turn in your papers to them before you turn it into me. They will proof it. They will read through your paper and tell you what you need to work on. Why not do that? It takes no time at all. They'll do it, and it can help your grade. Thanks, guys. I hope you have a good one, and I look forward to seeing these.